Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Shy, but you can call me Shadowcat as the channel name suggests, and today we're watching 12 Angry Men. I recently watched It's a Wonderful Life, and I briefly mentioned in that video that 12 Angry Men was one of the only black and white movies that I've kind of seen. And by kind of seen, I mean I did not actually see it at all because I was not paying a second of attention when this was put on in class because I was a teenager and I would rather gossip. But on that video, many of you guys let me know that it was worth checking out again and actually paying attention to this time. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna watch 12 Angry Men. My teachers would be so proud. A lot of you guys also let me know on the It's a Wonderful Life video that in fact the black and whiteness of it all was actually a stylistic choice and it was not due to technical limitations at the time. So I assume that 12 Angry Men is similar in that aspect because I'm pretty sure this movie came out in the 50s. I don't super know what to expect out of this movie, although I'm pretty sure it is about a jury or something like that and them trying to reach a conclusion. So I'm also pretty sure that it takes place all in one room. So I'm really curious to see how the movie plays out. And I'm also just very, very curious to learn what it is about this movie that people love so much, because obviously if this movie only takes place in a single room and is mostly dialogue heavy, I assume that the dialogue is just going to be really smart and quippy. So I'm curious to see how the dialogue alone will carry the film from start to end. But yeah, I'm excited to get into it. I'm excited to actually give this movie a shot, and I'm only giving it a shot because you guys told me to, so let's see how I enjoy it. As always, if you want my uncut reaction to this movie, as well as my next upcoming reaction, that is all available to you right now at patreon.com/shadowcatreacts. But without further ado, let's get into the movie. I really didn't look up anything about this movie, so right now I'm wondering if this is based off of a true story.
Premeditated murder is the most serious charge tried in our criminal courts. If there's a reasonable doubt in your minds as to the guilt of the accused, then you must bring me a verdict of not guilty.
Ugh. I hope I never have to do jury duty. It just seems like a tremendous amount of pressure.
It's mandatory in this case.
The jury will now retire.
I'm pretty sure that this movie is only about an hour and a half. So right now I'm wondering, because 12 characters is kind of a lot of characters, I'm wondering if we're going to get adequate time with all of them and we're going to sort of be able to understand all of their perspectives, or whether we're going to focus on certain members of the jury.
Well, you'd think that at least air condition these places. What's your name?
So it's hot too, which is going to definitely contribute to their, like, the way that they're feeling.
How'd you like it?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I've never been on a jury before.
What gets me is where those lawyers talk and talk and talk, even when it's an open and shut case like this one. I mean, did you ever hear so much?
I feel like it's not going to be such an open and shut case.
Well, I figured we'd start out with a 5-minute break. There's one gentleman in the bathroom.
Yeah, I guess. What are you, on a cold?
These hot weather colds can kill you.
Oh, come on, Mr. Foreman. Let's go.
Okay, man, let's take our seats, huh?
Yeah, we can all get out of here pretty quick, huh?
I doubt it. I wonder if most of them at this time think that the person is guilty.
Where do we sit here?
You know, by jury numbers of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on around the table. 1, 2, 3, 6.
That actually makes it a lot easier, I think, to know them by jury name rather than their actual names, because I was thinking that 12 names might be a lot to memorize and keep in order, but if I'm just thinking of them as numbers, I think it becomes a lot easier.
This kid kills his father, Bing. Just tell you, they let those kids run wild up there. Well, maybe it serves them right.
I don't know about that.
Oh, forgive me, gentlemen. I didn't mean to keep you waiting.
We can discuss it first and then vote on it.
I think it's customary to take a preliminary vote.
I'd like to see where everyone stands currently.
We have a first-degree murder charge here, and if we vote the accused guilty, we've got to send him to the chair.
Oh, my gosh. I feel like they're being so flippant for what the consequences of their decision is going to be.
All those voting guilty, please raise your hands.
How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11? Is that everyone but this guy? Huh.
I don't know. They proved it a dozen different ways in court. Would you like me?
I don't know whether I believe it or not. Maybe I don't.
So how come you vote not guilty?
It's not easy to raise my hand and send a boy off to die without talking
Yeah.
about it first.
I agree. I feel like they're more concerned about like getting out of here in time than they are about this kid's life, which is scary. It's like a scary thought to think that that could be a person's priority on a jury.
Then you tell me, what are we sitting here for?
Look, this kid's been kicked around all of his life. You know, born in a slum, a wild, angry kid, that's all he's ever been. And you know why? 'Cause
We heard the facts, didn't we? You're not going to tell me that we're supposed to believe this kid knowing what he is? You can't believe a word they say. You know that.
I can't stand that mindset. Especially when you're dealing with somebody's life. It's not like community service that's on the table, you know?
Rice Pops. It's a product I work on at the agency. Yeah?
Say, do you mind?
I have this habit of doodling. It keeps me thinking clearly.
Suppose we go once around the table.
I just think he's guilty. I thought it was obvious from the word go.
the defendant doesn't even have to open his mouth. That's in the Constitution.
I mean, somebody saw him do it.
Okay.
Is that the only proof? Is it somebody, like a witness testimony? Or do we have any other proof?
I think he heard loud noises. Said it sounded like a fight.
Okay.
And he heard the kid yell out, "I'm going to kill you." Called the police. They came in, found the old man with a knife in his chest. These are facts. You can't...
Okay. I mean, that doesn't sound good.
He claimed he was at the movies during the time of the killing, and yet 1 hour later, he couldn't remember the names of the films he saw or who played in them.
Here's a woman who's lying in bed. She can't sleep. She looks out the window, and right across the street, she sees the kid stick the knife into his father.
I'd like to ask you something. You don't believe the boy's story. How come you believe the woman's? She's one of them, too, isn't she?
What does that mean? One of them?
Now, we're not going to get anywhere fighting. Whose turn is it next?
Does he mean like... Because that particular character seemed to be like characterizing people who like grew up in a certain place. So maybe that's what he means by one of them.
Anyway, that testimony from those people in the apartment across the hall from the kid's apartment, didn't they say something about a fight and an argument between the old man and the son?
That's right. They heard an argument. They couldn't hear what it was about. Finally, they saw the boy run angrily out of the house. What is that?
Okay. So could it have been self-defense?
I can't see 2 slaps in the face provoking him into committing murder.
Everyone has a breaking point.
Well, look at his record. He's been arrested for mugging. This is a very fine boy.
Ever since he was 5 years old, his father beat him up regularly. He used his...
Well, so would I. A kid like that? Huh.
I hate that mindset.
When I was a kid, I used to call my father Sir.
That's right.
Sir.
But I feel like that is literally every single generation looking at the next generation being like, you guys are hopeless. I feel like that's just such a... Like, it's a tale as old as time.
It's no secret children from slum backgrounds are potential menaces to society.
One of them, I'm telling you.
Listen, I've lived in a slum all my life. I played in backyards that were filled with garbage.
Okay, interesting. I was starting to think that maybe he, like, identifies with the accused a little bit, and he sees, like, all of the stereotypes that all of them are bestowing upon him, and it just, like, it doesn't feel right to him. That's the good thing about having a varied and diverse group of people in a jury, having like different life experiences represented.
Well, if you want me to tell you how I feel about it, it's all right with me. I began to get the feeling that the defense counsel wasn't conducting a thorough enough cross-examination. I mean, look, But actually, those two witnesses were the entire case for the prosecution.
What are you trying to say? Those people sat on the stand under oath.
They're only people. People make mistakes. Could they be wrong?
What about the switch knife?
Wait a minute. There's some people who haven't talked yet. Shouldn't we go in order?
They'll get a chance to talk. Just be quiet.
Say, could you bring us the knife?
Knife?
Yeah. Now, suppose we take these facts one at a time. One, the boy admitted going out of the house at 8 o'clock on the night of the murder after being slapped several times by his father.
He said punch. There's a difference between a slap and a punch.
It's true.
Two, switchblade knives. The storekeeper who sold it to him said it was the only one of its kind he had ever had in stock. They identified the death weapon in court as that very same knife.
I mean, it doesn't sound good.
Returning home at 3:10 to find his father dead and himself arrested. Now, there is the tale, gentlemen. I think it's quite clear that the boy never went to the movies that night. No. What actually happened is this. Now, are you trying to tell me that this knife really fell through a hole in the boy's pocket? Someone picked it up off the street, went to the boy's house, and stabbed his father with it just to test its sharpness?
No, I'm just saying it's...
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound good. The case against him is pretty strong. But I still agree that you, need to at least discuss it, regardless of how much of a open and shut case it seems like.
Just saying a coincidence is possible.
And I say it's not possible.
Oh.
I walked through the boy's neighborhood. I bought that in a little pawn shop just 2 blocks from the boy's house. It cost $6.
It's against the...
Oh. So it wasn't the only one.
So what?
Maybe there are.
Well, what does it mean?
Well, then that just shows a discrepancy in the story.
The odds are 1,000,000 to 1.
It's possible.
But not very probable.
You still have to explore the options.
It's interesting that he'd find a knife exactly like the one the boy bought.
What's interesting about it?
This poor man is being dismissed at every corner.
Somebody saw the kid stab his father. What more do we need? So let's get done and get out of here.
I have a proposition to make to all of you. I want to call for another vote. I want you 11 men to vote by secret written ballot.
When they did their first vote, I was thinking how there were some people who I think waited for everyone else to vote before they threw up their hands. And so I feel like there are people in this jury who are kind of just influenced by those around them and not actually thinking for themselves. So I think that this is a good plan.
Guilty.
Okay.
Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
I like all of their different handwritings. Oh.
Not guilty.
Oh, I wonder who that was. I want to say the man who keeps getting, dismissed.
Who it was? Brother, you really are something. Why don't you drop a quarter in this collection box? What made you change your vote?
He didn't change his vote. I did.
Oh, fine.
I know it.
Now, he doesn't say the boy is not guilty. He just isn't sure. So he gambled for support, and I gave it to him.
That's a mindset I can respect. Because I think that I would probably be thinking the same thing. I would probably be under the impression that the boy is guilty, given the evidence against him. But I would feel absolutely awful not actually giving it the time of day to, actually discuss it, considering the fact that you're sending him to the chair,
in advertising, I told you I work in an agency. Mm-hmm. There's some pretty strange people working there. Well,
like yourself?
A little excited back there. I'm glad you're not one of those lets these emotional appeals influence him.
Are you a salesman?
I'm an architect.
I got a different technique. Laughs, drinks, jokes, tricks,
That was pretty impressive.
Hey, what are you getting out of this, kicks? This kid is guilty, pal. So why don't we stop wasting our time here? We're gonna all get sore throats if we keep it up,
Oy, what a murderous day. You think we'll be much longer?
I think you guys might be a bit longer.
You think he's not guilty, huh?
Supposing you were the one that was on trial.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not used to so. Supposing you talk us all out of this and kid really did knife his father, huh?
Yeah, I mean, that is the great dilemma of being on a jury, isn't it? That's why I hope that I'm never called upon.
Okay, fellas, let's take our seats.
The old man who lived downstairs says he heard the kid yell out, "I'm going to kill you."
It was another apartment. It's not that easy to identify a voice, particularly a shouting voice.
I guess I wonder if any of the eyewitnesses could have a motive for saying that.
Yeah. How long it would take, Nell?
Are they playing X's and O's? Jesus. Tic-tac-toe.
All right, listen.
The absolute nerve.
The absolute nerve of you. You're dealing with a man's life.
How long it takes an elevator train going at medium speed to pass a given point?
I don't know, maybe 10, 12 seconds?
It takes a 6-car L train 10 seconds to pass a given point.
When the window is open and the train goes by, the noise is almost unbearable. The old man in the apartment downstairs, he says he heard the boy say, "I'm going to kill you," and a split second later heard a body hit the floor. The woman across the street and saw the killing through the last 2 cars of a passing elevator train.
Oh, so it would have been too loud, maybe.
Therefore, the train had been roaring by the old man's window a full 10 seconds before the body hit the floor.
If I'm ever a case of murder, I want him in my jury.
He didn't hear it. I mean, with all that L noise.
Oh, what are you people talking about?
Starting to sow seeds of doubt.
What's he got to gain?
Attention, maybe. This is a quiet, insignificant old man who has been nothing all his life. When there
What are
was a
you trying
chance-
to do? Tell us you lied just so he could be important once?
No. But perhaps he made himself believe he heard those words and recognized the boy's face.
Like that. What do you know about it?
Has he been in that position before?
Supposing he really did hear it. This phrase, how many times have all of us used it? I could kill you for that, darling. Junior, you do that once more and I'm going to kill you. Get in there, Rocky, and kill us for this. Do you really think the boy'd shout out a thing like that so the whole neighborhood could hear it?
Yeah, that's
So.
true.
He's much too bright for that.
I'd like to change my vote to not guilty.
You what?
Oh my god. There's another one on board.
Look, the kid had a lawyer, didn't he?
He was court appointed. It could mean he didn't want the case or he resented being appointed. It's the kind of case that brings him nothing. No money, no glory, not even much.
That is a terrifying thought, that your representation just might not have the motivation to properly defend you, so they don't. Ugh.
It seems to me that this man has some very good points to make. If he really had killed his father, why would he come back home 3 hours later?
Came home to get his knife.
Why did he leave it there in the first place?
When he finally calmed down, he realized he had left his knife there.
I mean, I feel like they both have pretty good points.
Look, you voted guilty. What side are you on?
I don't believe I have to be loyal to one side or the other.
Yeah. Good.
I'll bet he figured that nobody had seen him running out and that the body wouldn't be discovered till the next day.
Why would you assume that if you had screamed at the top of your lungs, "I'm going to kill you"? Like, you would maybe assume that somebody heard you?
The boy certainly must have heard the scream, so he knew that somebody saw something.
Good point.
Maybe all of those things happened, but maybe they didn't. I think there's enough doubt that we can wonder whether he was there at all during the time the killing took place.
Look, witnesses can make mistakes.
Sure, when you want them to.
True. I feel like witnesses make mistakes all the time, don't they? People's memories are very, very faulty.
All those voting not guilty, please raise your hands. Still the same. 1, 2, 3 not guilty, 9 guilty.
I vote not guilty.
Oh.
What?
Wow. So that's 1/3 of people who are now saying not guilty.
Now, what about the old man? Are we supposed to believe that he didn't get up and run to his door and see the kid tearing down the steps 15 seconds after the killing? I don't remember what he said, but I don't see how he could have run to the door.
He said he went from his bedroom to the front door. Now, isn't
Well, how far from the front door is the bedroom?
I'd like to see a diagram of the apartment. What I'd like to find out if an old man who drags one foot when he walks, because he had a stroke last year, can get from his bedroom to his front door in 15 seconds.
20.
All right, here's the apartment where the killing took place. The old man's apartment was directly beneath and exactly the same. He says he crossed to the door and walked down the hall, opened the front door, just in time to see the boy running down the stairs. Am I right so far?
Seems like a little bit of a stretch.
Sure, he could have done it.
He can walk only very slowly. They had to help him into the witness chair.
You make it sound like a long... I'm going to try it, see how long it took. What do you mean you want to try it? Why didn't his lawyer bring it up of its own force? Maybe he didn't bring it up because it would have meant bullying and badgering.
I like how we're starting to see them get all sweaty.
Will you stand right there and mark the front door? It was chain locked according to the testimony, remember?
Oh, so another obstacle.
Come on, speed it up. He walked twice as fast as that.
Stop.
How long was that?
What's the time?
41 seconds.
Here's what I think happened. The old man...
You all know he's guilty. He's got to burn. You're letting him slip through our fingers.
You want to see this boy die because you personally want it, not because of the facts.
Ooh. I mean, if you feel so confident in the fact that this boy is guilty, there really is nothing wrong with, like, seeing all of the evidence and considering all of the options, you know? Because if you're so confident that you are right, then you should be able to counter everything that this other guy is saying. And if you can't, maybe that is a sign that you should actually think about it. I don't know.
I was wondering if maybe we should take another vote.
I think we ought to have an open ballot. Call out our vote, you know.
I'm so happy to live in a time where people cannot smoke indoors, at least where I live.
Not guilty.
That would be like an extra level of hell on such a hot day also.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Okay, that's 4.
Guilty.
Not guilty.
Ooh.
Guilty.
The vote is now 6-6.
Oh, it's 6-6. My bad. I failed math twice, guys.
Don't give me that. I'm sick and tired of facts. You can twist them any way you like. You know what I mean?
That's exactly the point. That man gets on my...
This would be hell. Like, I can kind of understand the perspective of wanting to speed it up a little bit so you can go home. But I really, really appreciate juror number 8, especially, like, taking the time to actually try to discuss things fully.
You know what I mean?
Now listen, I don't think you have any right to loudmouth.
Ooh, look at him starting to talk back. And hopefully that cools things down a little bit.
Hey, huh?
Wait.
Put on a sunny switch with the lights.
Oh.
Looking up here, huh? And you guys ever go to the garden?
Well, how do you like it? Even Steven. Pretty surprising, isn't it? Pretty excitable person. I mean, where does he come off calling me? A public avenger?
I mean, he seemed pretty excited about the opportunity to, like, be the person.
An important point for the prosecution was the fact that he couldn't remember the names of the movies or the stars who appeared in them.
And he himself couldn't back it up with any detail.
Yeah, that is odd. I can't lie about that.
Questioned by the detectives in the kitchen of his apartment, while the body of his father was lying on the floor in the bedroom. You think he could remember details under those circumstances?
I do. He had 3 months from the night of the murder to the day of the trial in which to memorize them. Great emotional stress or not.
I'd like to ask you a personal question. Where were you last night?
I left the office at 8:30 and went straight home and to bed.
And the night before that?
Monday night, my wife and I went to the movie.
What was in The Amazing Mrs. Bainbridge?
Barbara Long, I think it was. A dark, very pretty girl.
I like how loud the rain is coming in right now. Oh, look at that little drop of sweat.
Say, could I see that knife a second, please? There was this whole business about the stab wound and how it was made.
Is it gonna be like somebody who was taller? Maybe? Yeah.
His father was 6'2". That's a difference of 7 inches.
It's a good point.
6 or 7 inches shorter, okay?
It's about right, maybe a little more.
I would feel so uncomfortable with this. Ain't no way.
What's it
Well, this is the way I'd stab a man who was...
I don't know. I kind of feel like you'd go like this, maybe. I don't actually know. I've never stabbed anyone. But, like, stabbing like this seems odd to me.
Switchblades came with the neighborhood where I lived. He'd never use it like this.
Interesting. Ooh. Ooh.
I don't think you can determine what type of wound the boy might or might not.
I don't know about the rest of them, but I'm getting a little tired of this yakety-yakking back and forth. It's getting us nowhere. I changed my vote to not guilty.
Does he just want to go home? Or does he actually think that he's not guilty? Because he keeps looking at his watch, so I'm just not sure.
You have sat here and voted guilty with everyone else because there are some baseball tickets burning a hole in your pocket.
You can't talk like that to me.
I can talk like that.
Looks like he's doing it.
If you want to vote not guilty, then do it because you are convinced the man is not guilty. Not say it. Why?
Think he's guilty.
Okay, all those voting not guilty, raise your hands.
Dang. Oh my god. Wow. We're at 75% now.
Look, you know how these people lie? It's born in them.
I cannot stand the way that he, like, is using stereotypes. Yeah, he's just, like, basing his opinion off of what he thinks of certain people and not actually on the facts or information.
I've known a couple who were okay, but that's the exception, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Most of them, it's like they have no feelings. They can do anything.
Oh my god, I do not like this man! So I think that they said at the beginning of the movie, and I'm pretty sure this is how it works, but it has to be all 12 people agree, right? I'm just wondering how he's gonna come around.
These people are dangerous.
I can't with him.
We 9 can't understand how you 3 are still so sure. Maybe you can tell us.
I'll try. The evidence given by the woman across the street, the fact that she described the stabbing by saying she saw the boy raise his arm over his head and stab down into the father's chest.
I mean, what he's saying does make sense too. I think that that's what makes this so compelling, is that it's not so clear one way or the other.
As far as I can see it, this is unshakable testimony.
All right, I'm changing my vote. It's guilty.
Maybe we can talk about setting some kind of time limit. 6:15. Someone before mentioned 7 o'clock.
You made a gesture that reminded me of something. Why were you rubbing your nose like that? Your eyeglasses made those 2 deep impressions in the sides of your nose. The woman who testified that she saw the killing had those same marks on the side.
Perceptive. I cannot imagine noticing that.
How do you know whether she wore glasses? Just because she was rubbing her nose?
Now, she had those marks. I saw them.
Could those marks be made by anything other than eyeglasses?
No, they couldn't.
What about the lawyer? Why didn't he say something?
I think that we've established that the lawyer did not give a shit.
Did you ever see a woman who had to wear glasses and didn't want to because she thinks they spoil her looks? Do you wear glasses when you go to bed?
No, I don't.
Is it possible that she could have picked it up from her bedside table in enough time?
The lights went off a split second later. She couldn't have had time to put them on there. I say she only saw a blur.
She had to be able to identify a person 60 feet away.
Yeah. Oof.
Don't give me that.
Don't you think the woman might have...
It's true!
I'm convinced. Not guilty.
Well, you're alone. I don't care whether I'm alone or not.
Feel like I see the cogs turning up in there.
The old man saw him right there on the stairs. Sure, you can take all the time, hobble around the room, but you can't prove it.
I mean, that is also true.
I'm telling you, I've got all the facts here. Well,
You're not going to intimidate me. I'm entitled to my opinion.
Of course you are. I just feel like they're not asking you to think that he's not guilty, really. They're just asking you to think of whether there is a chance that he didn't do it, you know?
Not guilty. Not guilty.
Oh my god. I think I'm just noticing right now how this movie didn't have really any music in it. I think it had music in it at the start and now, but most of the sounds were just sort of like ambient sounds. There's the sounds of the fan, the sound of the rain. It definitely lends to the atmosphere of the movie, for sure.
What's your name?
Davis.
My name's McCardle. Well, so long.
Dang. What a triumph. Wow, and now they all just go their separate ways. Like they didn't just have this life-defining experience together. Wow. That was a lot more interesting than my 15-year-old self thought it was going to be. I feel like this film did a really incredible job at setting everything up. By that I mean we hear the evidence of the trial and it does sound very damning for the accused. And so it's a big mountain to climb to have people end up on the other side of things. And at the beginning I was genuinely wondering, like, how are you going to be able to shift perspectives given how much evidence that they have? I think that that was a great decision narratively, but I also think that it was necessary for kind of humanizing the jury, you know? You know, some of them were a bit trigger happy, I guess you could say, but most of them were just presented with evidence that seemed obvious and so made their decisions based off of that. And so I think that it was a great decision to start the movie in a place where you can actually identify with the people who think that he is guilty. That being said, I was getting frustrated by many of the jurors just wanting to call it a day, being like, yeah, this is easy. It's an open and shut case. Like, we don't even have to really spend any time with it, as if they weren't determining the future of this man's life. Literally, you had his life in your hands. Like, I feel like regardless of how open and shut something seems, you have to give it the time of day considering what's at stake. As I remarked several times throughout this film, I've never done jury duty, but I would love to think that if I was ever called upon to do it, that I would take the position seriously, because you're like determining so much about this person's future. I like how they left it a little bit open-ended, so we don't actually know if the son did or didn't kill the father. Like, that is kind of left up to interpretation, but that also wasn't necessarily the point. Like, the point wasn't, was he definitively guilty or not? It was, is there a chance that he perhaps didn't do it? And is there enough evidence that supports the fact that maybe he could be being wrongly accused right now? And so from an audience perspective, I think that it puts you in the perspective of one of the jury members, because they don't actually know whether the kid did it or not. And so I just think that it was a really smart, creative decision to leave all of that up to the audience to determine where they stand on things, rather than giving them like a definitive answer of what actually happened after the fact. I think that this is a more poignant place to leave the movie off on, where there is still maybe for some audience members a lingering doubt, a feeling of perhaps he did do it, but I hope that the majority opinion of people who've watched this movie come away from it thinking that there was reasonable doubt. there have been really popular trials that have happened in the real world that a lot of people are really dialed into. And I think that from an outside perspective, a lot of the times it can seem confusing how a jury comes to a certain conclusion, especially if you think that a person is 100% guilty or 100% innocent. And I think that that is what makes the job of a juror so hard, because it really isn't about your feelings about it. It's about, okay, sure, I think that maybe he's guilty, but do we have enough evidence to actually support that? I feel like that is a tremendous thing to ask of a person, and that's why I do not envy those who have done jury duty, and that's why I hope that I do not ever have to do it, because yeah, you literally have the life of somebody in your hands, and the decisions that you make in that room could very well affect them, or will very well affect them for the rest of their lives. And I think that that is something that needs to be taken very seriously. And I think that having juror number 8 be there, oh gosh, could you imagine if he wasn't there? They really wouldn't be asking these serious questions. And so obviously, as a jury member, you are just using the evidence that is presented to you, so you don't actually know for a fact what has happened, but you are the arbiter of justice at that point, and so you have to make a decision. And I just think that that is, whew, that's a lot. And so I feel like either way, whether you think that the person is guilty or not, can be very emotionally distressing, because as one of the jury members said to juror number 8, you might be responsible for helping a guilty man just be out in them streets. And it's true, and it's something that you just have to sort of grapple with when you're a jury member. It's just a lot. And I think that this film really nicely illustrated that. Having now finally watched this movie actually at 30, there ain't no way my 15-year-old self would have actually sat through this and appreciated it. There literally is no way. I think that I was passing notes that day. I was passing notes every day in that class, and there was nothing more important to me at the time than doing that. So there was literally no way that I would have watched this. So I'm happy to have revisited it today and actually be able to walk away from it seeing the reasons why people like it so much. I do think that a film that is so heavily reliant on dialogue has to have good dialogue, has to have good characterization, and I think that this film did. There were absolutely no bells and whistles with this film. It was all about the dialogue. It was all about the ways these characters were communicating with each other through body language, through obviously verbal communication. Yeah, I just think that it was a great display of how important impactful dialogue can be. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say, but I do want to reiterate again that I love that they left it up to interpretation in the end, and they didn't give you a definitive answer. So it just gives you something to think about, I think, when you walk away from this film. And I'm sure that this film inspired a lot of conversation among people. I think that it also really nicely illustrated how people's preconceived notions can color the way that they see people in the world. And so, I don't know what number that juror was, but the one juror who was very oh, those people are like this and they're not good and they commit crimes. I think that we all have a certain level of prejudice, but seeing it in a certain setting where you're actually determining whether this man gets to live or whether he has to die is a certain kind of special, kind of terrifying, And I'm glad that he wasn't able to sour the entire process with his biases, but it really makes you think, And I was saying it earlier, towards the beginning of the movie, how it's so important to have a jury that has diverse life experiences, because then you get so many different perspectives. And I think that we're all, to a certain extent, controlled by our worldview. Some of us are better at, being empathetic than others, but for the most part, you only really know what you know, and so it's really, really important to have a lot of different perspectives in the room if you're going to be making such a big decision like that, I think. Thank you guys for recommending that I give this movie another go. I swear I never thought that I would watch this movie because at the time there was just nothing you could have done to get me into a black and white movie, especially one that is just comprised of men talking in a room. Like, there was nothing you could have done for me at 15 to make me watch this. So I'm so happy that you guys told me to give this another chance because I actually ended up enjoying it quite a bit. And much like A Wonderful Life, it just makes me want to continue exploring a lot of the older movies that I've missed intentionally because I thought that I would never like them. So if you guys have any other recommendations, there were a few people who were saying that I should also give To Kill a Mockingbird another go. So maybe I'll do that relatively soon. I don't know. So yeah, just let me know if there's anything else. I think a few people also mentioned Casablanca, so maybe I'll also get to that eventually. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this with me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.